I said, this is a tsunami that is coming, and I'm either going to be crushed by it and drowned under it, and it's going to destroy everything I've built, or I'm going to learn to surf the big waves, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to surf this wave, which is what I did sort of at the dawn of online video. I was sort of one of the first probably 100 agencies in the country that was consistently making online video back in 2008, 2009, because it was a brand new thing, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so I just decided, okay, I'm going to do that again. And once I made that decision, I actually got excited again, and my entrepreneurial instincts kicked in, and it was not fun. I sort of had to set off a grenade in the middle of my own business and say, okay, I'm going to start over.
Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. Sound plays a more important role in human behavior and our decision-making than you may realize. In this podcast, I'll help you understand the art and science of sound so you can better influence others in business and your life. I'm your host, Jodi Krangle. Let's delve a little deeper. So I have to go to the elephant in the room, and that is AI. Of course, we have to ask.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on it for video, for social media, for sound? What do you think? Is it going to improve things? Are we somewhere where it will be better, or is it being misused right now?
I think that the analogy I give people, if you look at the Industrial Revolution, if you're a student of history at all, and you know anything about that time period, in the US at least, it went from, and I think most Western countries, it went from being an agrarian society where most people worked on farms and sort of lived very separated from each other. And there was this huge mass migration into the cities as people started working in factories and things. And ultimately, if you sort of look at how quickly society evolved, and we had airplanes and then spaceships and then technology and the internet and everything that we have now is a byproduct of that sort of paradigm shift in the way that the economy functioned. But the first 10 years of it were devastating for so many people. And the disruption was just this seismic shift, like an earthquake going off, and just incredibly disruptive for people. And so my personal feeling is we're in the first few years of, let's say, a 10 or 15-year cycle. I am an eternal optimist as a person, and so I think in so many ways, we're actually headed for a golden age. I think we're going to solve a lot of logistical problems, a lot of medical and health problems, because big data, just the ability to aggregate and experiment with massive data sets. There's just never been anything like what you can do now. And so I think things are just going to move forward very quickly. I personally made a decision. My business almost fell apart. Like I was probably 6 months, let's say, away from declaring bankruptcy. Not that not that that's the end of the business story. If anyone's ever had to do that, you understand it's a restructuring. It's not the end of the road, but it certainly feels like it when you're in the middle of it, right?
Sure.
But the corporate landscape has just changed drastically in the last couple of years, and it hasn't stopped changing. It's still in the middle of this metamorphosis right now. And we just weren't adapting. I did the same thing and it worked beautifully for 15 years. And then it just sort of fell off a cliff and it stopped working. My business model just stopped working. And I kept trying to fix it and tweak it and make little changes and make adjustments. And the adjustments just weren't enough. And I'm not saying it's all because of AI, but it's at least 50% because of AI.
So what was
And
it
so
causing? What was the friction that it was causing?
the hype around
Okay.
AI and AI's ability to solve every creative problem. And the
Mm-hmm.
deal is, when you're dealing with a creative director or marketing director at a Fortune 500 company, they know that AI can't do everything that people are saying AI can do, because they've tried it and they see that the figure with the finger sticking out of his forehead and like 6 eyeballs. And it's like,
The fingers. It can
yeah.
never get the hands right.
No,
Yeah.
it's terrible. And for voiceover, for instance, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the for demo purposes, for like the first draft or
Oh, the guide
animatics or things
tracks.
like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
it's fine.
It's super helpful because clients go back and they change things over and over again, and the script changes and. So for workflow processes, for repetitive tasks, for noise canceling type ambient sound and things like that we were talking about before we started our conversation today, the for things like that, it's just brilliant. I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball. The degree to which it's evolved in just the last few years, it's sort of an exponential curve, so I think we can't count anything out. I personally feel like you cannot replicate the human spirit with technology, and there is just something about the artistry that a human being brings, to the way that something gets communicated. There's a subtlety to it that if you're talking about if it's a training video and it's very straightforward and you just need to communicate meat and potatoes information, fine. But if you need to bring
Even then,
yeah.
I will say, even then, because this is something people are supposed to learn from,
Mhm. Absolutely.
I think it's a mistake to use a synthetic voice for that kind of a program
Yeah.
because you want people to actually pay attention.
Yeah,
And the minute that
100%.
they can tell that it's an AI voice or a
Yeah,
synthetic voice of some kind, they'll
yeah,
tune it out.
totally.
They just won't listen.
100%. And I everything that I've sort of observed, people have been so excited about the virtual avatars and things like that, and I think we'll get there. Artists have this incredible ability to predict the future. You think about the Star Trek, the original Star Trek TV series, they had cell phones, essentially, they had video calls, et cetera, and
Or
he
maybe it
and
was
here
because
we
we
are.
watched that we made them.
Totally. Well, yeah, and that may be the cycle that happens, like,
Yeah,
life imitates art over and over again, right?
exactly.
But
Yeah.
I think that will happen inevitably again here, and I do think we'll get to the point, you could imagine 20 years from now where, it's gonna be whatever you can think and describe can be created, and I think what I made a very conscious decision. I said, "This is a tsunami that is coming, and I'm either gonna be crushed by it and drowned under it, and it's gonna destroy everything I've built, or I'm gonna learn to surf the big waves, and I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to surf this wave," which is what I did sort of at the dawn of online video. I was sort of one of the first probably 100 agencies in the country that was consistently making online video back in 2008, 2009, 'cause it was a brand new thing, right? And so I just decided, "Okay, I'm gonna do that again," and once I made that decision, I actually got excited again, and my entrepreneurial instincts kicked in, and it was not fun. I sort of had to set off a grenade in the middle of my own business and say, "Okay, I'm gonna start over," and that takes courage and persistence, and I was getting lazy and complacent, frankly. The business is going well. I made the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies 6 times at 2 different agencies, won all kinds of industry
Congratulations.
awards. Yeah, thank you. It's like, I'm good at this. I'm a big boy. I'm very important. I'm very talented. And it's like, okay, yeah, but oh well, like you can't rest on your laurels, especially now. So I think, and the other thing I think about it is that it's absolutely inevitable. There is no protest against it. There's no cultural backlash that's going to happen that's going to stop it from becoming whatever it is that it's going to become. And so it needs artists, it needs creative people guiding it, shaping it, coming to the conversation saying, like, if you're going to change the system, essentially change it from the inside, right? I think that's very important. Ultimately, I think once things sort of settle out and we understand what the new economy looks like, I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities for people. And I tell my son all the time, anyone who's ever been an executive, who's ever run something, knows that when you have people working for you and you need them to do a particular task, they will do as well as you instruct them to do. And if you give them great instructions and really orient them and make sure that they really understand what it is that you need, you're going to get great results. If you're lazy about that, if you're complacent, if you're just in too much of a hurry, if you get someone exceptional, they may do a great job for you. But most of the time, they're going to do a mediocre to poor job because you've done a mediocre to poor job instructing them. AI is like that on steroids.
Oh
If
yeah,
you if you
totally.
if you
It's all about the prompt.
the prompting
Yep.
is the number one skill set they're gonna need to teach the 5th graders right now. Being able to prompt is, to me, arguably the most important skill set you could teach a young person right now, because if you prompt correctly, you can get anything done, and that's gonna just keep evolving over time, and that's honestly what an executive's job is. You get other people to do work for you that you need them to do and not be unhappy about it. They don't always love it, maybe it's not always a super fun job, but you're empathetic, you're a good person, you're enthusiastic, you show up, you lead by example, and you explain things in such a way where they're like, "Okay, I get it. I see why this is helpful. I see what I'm doing. I feel confident about my ability to execute on this. I'm gonna go do this for you, boss. I got you." Right? And AI is like that. And my experience with it, when I do a good job, I find it helpful. And when I do a bad job, it gives me 6 fingers on each hand, right?
Such a good point.
Yeah.
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 And thank you for explaining that. And I think you're very right about the prompts being really super important.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a very good skill that people could have.
Yeah.
And I think that is an education that kids need, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So asking you specifically, how are you surfing at the moment? And are there any projects that you've worked on in the past, or that you're working on now, that you can share, that you're particularly happy with sound-wise?
Mm. It's a completely different landscape now. So part of it is moving very, very quickly. So doing volume work. But my goal, what I sort of observe, I've been talking with my team about this because I went into this space, and it's taken me a while to sort of get oriented to it and understand, because again, it's very different than the traditional corporate work I'm used to doing. And I talked to the team today and I said, "Look, we're good at this. We are pros who are now operating in a consumer space, essentially. There's been this incredible democratization through technology becoming cheaper. The ability to record, what phones can do now is unbelievable, right? And you can go on YouTube, and within, 10 hours of studying, if you look in the right places, you can do near pro level work, right? You get all these basics and fundamentals, and the standards have also changed. I sort of look back on COVID when the Tonight Show was on Zoom, where it was like we jumped the shark. It's like all bets are off, and all the sort of accepted norms that had happened pre-2020 just kind of got thrown out the window. And we've all kind of been piecing it together ever since. And it's now kind of whatever we all decide it's going to be, which is really interesting. So I think that sound, there are also so many more libraries. The whole business landscape has evolved to cater to the needs of an audience that's creating just this unbelievable volume of content. So it used to be, like 10 years ago, all the music libraries that we went to, you paid per song. You paid usually maybe $50 a song. Now you pay maybe $50 a month for unlimited access to songs,
And
right?
some of them are AI
And
generated.
yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
so then and the same thing with sound design, and with voiceover, obviously with AI voiceover, and then AI artists I know are feeling the pinch because I see it, because even just not doing the AI work for the work in progress, right? The sort of testing elements, it makes a difference, right? But having said all of this, I think there is an opportunity, as there always is, to just be the best out there, right? And it's not for everybody, but I sort of give the analogy I give, it's like all the money in the world that's changing hands every moment of every day, trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. So many zeros that would wrap around the room, right? All you've got to do is just reach up a little pinky and just dig a tiny little bit out of there, right? And I think that people can talk about shifting trends and things, and it feels a bit doom and gloom. Don't think about it like that. Make an active decision to say, this is a revolution, and it's an opportunity. Every challenge presents opportunities. And if you're a creative person, be willing to learn, be really voraciously hungry for what's coming next. Study these trends and never get tired of it. Never think, okay, now I have my finger on the pulse, so I don't need to learn anymore. I don't need to study anymore. I don't need to look ahead anymore. change is going to continue to be the only constant. So what's true right now might not be true 6 months or a year from now, certainly not 5 years from now. So just be willing to keep learning, keep growing, keep changing, keep evolving. And if you do that, I think there are gonna be incredible opportunities to do extraordinarily good work. And I think even in the social media landscape, certain brands just need higher end work.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Caput, a filmmaker, composer, and music producer. And I want to thank you for listening to the Audio Branding Podcast, your best place to learn about using the power of sound to tell your story.
If you own a med spa or a plastic surgeons are a great example. If you drive around like anywhere, I live in Florida, so land of the billboard, right, on every major
Yes,
roadway,
I've
right?
noticed that.
Yes, just
Yes.
billboards as far as the eye can see. It's so beautiful. And, you see billboards, especially here, accident attorneys, they were so litigious, it's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And so everywhere you look, it's like, "Been in an accident? We'll get you $8 million. Call us." And those tend to be sort of like the big it's like the attorney, and they look like they're in a suit, they're very professional, but they also look like they're gonna, eat your kids. They're a little scary, we're like, "We'll fight for you." But if you look at plastic surgery, billboards, they're always it's like someone has just put this high polished sheen or the cloud filter on it, right, where it looks like sort of the dream sequence, and you've got these airbrush models who've never had plastic surgery because they never needed it in the first place, right? And they've been airbrushed within an inch of their lives, and it's like, "You can look like this." So those folks, when you go to create content for them, they're not AI ain't gonna cut it with anything that they do. You need artistry because people are paying tens of thousands of dollars for these incredibly personal, life-changing, sometimes life-threatening services. Like, it's no joke. These are major surgeries,
Oh,
major life
yeah.
life alterations, huge investments.
Authenticity is hugely important. But
Absolutely.
then I think to a certain degree, authenticity being genuine, I think is important for anyone who's expecting anyone to lay out money for something.
Totally.
So that's where I'm not afraid as a voiceover artist that
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my job because we always need humans to relate to other humans.
Yeah. 100%. And the
Yeah.
number one thing I'll say, as a voiceover artist, you have to treat yourself as a business. And like any artist, it can be very hard to do that because you tend to take things personally. It's very hard to separate out the two things, right? But you have to be able to do that if you're going to be in charge of your own business.
Oh,
And
definitely.
the number one mistake that I see small business owners make of all kinds, but this absolutely goes for voiceover artists, other types of creative people, they just don't promote remotely enough, like not even close to enough, not 1/100th of what they actually need to be doing to be successful. And I'll have artists I'll give you an example. And so people hit me up all the time. I own an agency, I'm on LinkedIn and things like that. People just hammer me with communication all day, every day, right? And sometimes they'll catch me at the right moment. It's serendipitous, and I'll have a moment and I'll click on something. Most of the time, I don't. And today I don't need a male voiceover artist who sounds friendly and he's like it is in his 30s. But then my main guy that I've been using quits the business or gets too busy or raises his rates and I can't afford him anymore. Or we had an artist, one of my favorite people ever. I've worked with him for 15 years. He passed away. He got cancer. He passed away.
Oh,
Brutal.
no.
Just
Yeah.
amazing, lovely, lovely guy. Incredible
Hmm.
voice. You hear him on everything. And that just happened like 6 weeks ago. And so this guy that I've depended on, he was my deep, resonant voice, the voice of authority in my business. Never had to think about that. All of a sudden, for the first time in my career, I need to go find another guy like that. So if I get an email from a male voiceover or LinkedIn, and it looks like it might be that guy, I'm going to listen. Whereas before, I never ever would have. Right. And so it's marketing essentially is understanding your audience and their needs and being respectful of their needs, and then just showing up and communicating again and again and again
Yeah.
and again forever.
Consistent repetition, which
Staying
is
interested.
interesting
Yeah,
because it's the same way an audio brand works.
totally. Exactly
That's
right.
how we remember.
100%.
So
Exactly right.
yeah, this is really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are there any projects that you want to particularly talk about that you're really happy with?
Sure. Yeah, we did. So there's a water delivery service. They just got bought out by another company, but we worked with them for a couple of years. we had some pretty extraordinary success for them, and they were really lovely people to work with, and it was just fun. And they were selling, so they delivered bottled water, but they also delivered water coolers where you could have, the big bubbler and you get water out of it,
Sure, yeah.
to businesses and to houses. And so they were selling a water cooler cleaning kit, which is not the sexiest product on the market. It was basically like a sponge, some gloves, and a cleaning solution, and a couple other little things. 1995. But it's really actually quite important that you clean your water cooler. Like, it's not good for you if you don't do that, right? It's actually a big deal. So
Oh, yeah.
I think it's every 6 months or something. It's really important. But a lot of people just don't know that. You think, oh, it's water. There's nothing getting in there. Like, yeah, it's getting in there though. You should just clean that. But they're like, how the heck are we going to sell this? This is the most boring products ever in the history of the world, right? And we're like, okay. So I came up with this idea of doing a retro ad like the 1950s, right? Like Susie Homemaker and her husbands. And we happen to find, my wife is my production partner. She makes movies, but I rope her into our commercial stuff. And she found this amazing house with a photographer. He's an artist and lives so artfully. His wife's a yoga instructor, and they're just the neatest people. And it's mid-century modern, and he has all these TVs and radios and things from the 50s and mid-century modern furniture. It was just perfect. The whole house was just already done. We just had to show up and frame each shot. And so we put them in 50s clothes, and we hired the right actors for it. And then the music and the voiceover artist, we wanted that really 50s sound, like order yours today. And we
Of
auditioned.
course.
We auditioned, I don't know, 100 voiceover artists or something, and until we found the right guy. And then for whatever reason, he's quite a bit older, and we just could not get him to say it fast enough. He just couldn't get it. He couldn't get even though the script was within normal word constraints, he just couldn't get it out quick enough. So we ended up having to artificially speed up certain segments, but we didn't want it to sound like he was a chipmunk, obviously, right? And that's where technology was helpful, right? That it's come a long way.
Of
But
course,
it's
yeah.
just there was a lot of little tweaking with the sound, with the song choice, with the balance between the voiceover and music, etc. And then with his voiceover, just getting it to communicate literally what we needed to communicate, and then just sort of aesthetically and in terms of the vibe. And I think they sold out of this thing. That was the feedback we got, that it was just incredibly successful.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's super cute, and just to be
Yeah.
able to put all those pieces together, and just 1,000 choices with the camera angles, and we really got to take our time and really tell a story.
Meet Janet and her husband Roger. They've been enjoying healthy hydration delivered right to their door thanks to our friends at Ready Refresh. It's been 3 months since they've had the water dispenser delivered. Janet knows it's time for a routine thorough cleaning, but Roger's worried it's going to take him all afternoon and he might miss his tea time. Thank goodness Janet ordered the new water cooler cleaning kit from Ready Refresh. It makes cleaning their dispenser a total breeze. See, Roger, you're going to make that tea time after all. Order yours today.
And I think any creative person, voiceover artists, people who are involved, if you're aware enough to appreciate sound and different qualities of sound and things like that, you are a person who understands aesthetics and art and living artfully and creating artful products, right? Whether you do it for a living full time or it's a part-time thing or whatever, you just have that level of awareness. And I think every creative person wants to be able to create work like that. And ideally, we'd all love to get paid for it. And sometimes you get to do that, So that was an example that was just really, all the pieces came together. I had this idea, the client went for it, and we did some animation as well. We did sort of Hanna-Barbera type style.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
like the Jetsons, that was kind
Yeah.
of the vibe, or for the Flintstones. And it was just really, it was super fun to put all those pieces together and have the client be like, yeah, I never thought they would go for it. And they're like, that's nice. We're not doing that. And they're like, we like it. Let's go. And
I guess that might be the difference between the larger ones and the smaller ones.
yeah.
Because the smaller companies can pivot. They can do whatever they want to do,
Yeah.
It's a little harder to get someone at a Fortune 500 company to sign off on that because there are like 15 people that need to sign off on it, not just one.
Yeah, that we definitely had that experience over the years where we would start with an idea that was sort of like this far out of bounds, and we'd end up with an idea that was maybe that far out of bounds, but normally it was more like that, right? Where it's like, okay, fine. And then it ends up just being not as good, right? It's fine. The sort of the fundamental communication and the concept is there, but it's just like, all right, we sucked all the fun out of it. There we go. So
That's what legal does.
yes, exactly. Yeah. They're like, we can't say that. Like, yeah, you can. Come on. Work with us.
Oh boy. Yeah. Oh, so hard though. Probably heartbreaking too, after all the effort you put into the ideas.
Yeah. I think we learned pretty quickly over time. I've done over 8,000 projects. And so you learn to just not take it personally. And also as a business owner, I sort of joke there are two kinds of people in the world, people who've had to make payroll and people who've never had to make payroll. And it really does change you. And you really do understand how important it is, how many people's livelihoods are riding on your decisions. It's like, I respect it. I understand. And it's my job to sort of push the envelope, and it's somebody else's job to be like, that's nice. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
I like how you put that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are coming towards the end of this, but I want to leave people with one last question from you before I get you to tell us all your contact information and
Sure.
all of that. We will definitely get to that too.
Yeah.
But if you could leave one message about the power of sound for future generations, what would you say? Like, what would you tell your son?
I think that there is nothing, of all the art forms, there is no medium that is closer to the human spirit than sound. And I think that, and I remember from my earliest memory, which we talked about all throughout the sort of narrative of my life, I think nothing moves people as quickly and as profoundly as sound. If you took away the soundtrack to every movie that you've ever loved, it wouldn't have remotely the same emotional impact. And so I think it's worth investing in. And people instinctively admire people who are masters of sound, whether they master a particular instrument or someone who has a really resonant, lovely voice, or someone who's a public speaker can just get up on a stage and fill the room with the sound of their own voice, whatever it is. People really respect and admire that. And I think it's a responsibility and it's a privilege, right? And so I think that it's worth cultivating your craft. It's worth getting better and better at it. And if you have an innate talent that moves people, that people gravitate toward, it's special, and it's worth cultivating. It's worth persisting. It's worth learning and stumbling and scraping your knees and getting back up again, because that's not a gift that everybody's given. And not that you should feel obligated to use it, but if you are so moved to do it, just persist and don't give up, and be good to yourself and be kind to yourself, because it's not a talent that everybody has, and the world is better for it.
I love that. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good note to end on. But
Yeah.
before we actually end, why don't you let people know how they can get in touch with you and
Sure.
reach out to your company,
Yeah.
etc.
I do enjoy helping creative people, and for whatever it's worth, it's like I've made every mistake that a person can make in the business. So I'm happy to help you avoid some of mine. But I think the simplest way is just go to expertcreativehelp.com. That'll forward to our main website, and there's contact info there. So expertcreativehelp.com is the simplest way to get to us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this, Will.
Yeah,
I learned
pleasure.
a lot, and
Oh,
I
thanks.
really appreciate your taking the time. This
Yeah.
was great.
My pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available in all the usual locations. Until next time,